There's someone in your life who never talks about money, never mentions their salary, never brags about investments, never posts the vacation on Instagram with 17 location tags, never shows up to family dinners with updates about the new business venture or the stock. That's going to change everything. They just exist, quietly, unremarkably on the surface. And then one day, through some accidental conversation, some offhand comment, some moment where the curtain briefly pulls back, you discover that this person has been building something extraordinary in complete silence: a paid-off property, a seven-figure investment account, a business that runs without them, financial freedom so complete and so solid that they could stop working tomorrow and barely feel it. And your first reaction is probably some version of, "How did I not know this? How long has this been happening? How did someone this normal, this quiet, this unremarkable seeming accumulate something that significant without anyone around them noticing?" That question has an answer, and it's not what most people expect. It's not luck. It's not inheritance. It's not some secret investment strategy or insider information or extraordinary talent. It's psychology. Specifically, a very particular set of mental habits that quiet wealth builders share almost universally. Habits that are invisible precisely because they're internal, and habits that anyone can install, starting today, once they understand what they actually are. We live in an era that has confused performance with progress. Somewhere between the rise of social media and the explosion of financial content online, the act of building wealth got tangled up with the act of being seen building wealth. People document their investment portfolios. They announce their side hustles. They share their savings milestones. They post their morning routines and productivity, systems and net worth updates as if the broadcasting itself is part of the process. And it created a distorted picture of what wealth building actually looks like from the inside. Most people, if they're being honest, have absorbed a mental image of financial success that looks like visible momentum, hustle that people can see, wins that get announced, a life that looks increasingly impressive from the outside as the inside grows. But here's the problem with that picture. It's almost entirely backwards. The people who accumulate the most durable, most significant wealth over time are almost universally the ones nobody sees coming. The ones who figured out, consciously or intuitively, that the energy spent performing financial success is energy stolen directly from building it. And the psychology behind that understanding goes much deeper than just keeping a low profile. Let's get specific, because this isn't about being secretive for its own sake. The quiet money builders operate from a genuinely different set of psychological frameworks that produce different decisions, different habits, and ultimately different outcomes. Here's the first framework. They have separated their identity from their net worth. Most people, without realizing it, experience their financial situation as a reflection of their personal worth. When money is good, they feel good about themselves. When money is tight, something deeper than just stress activates, something closer to shame. Their financial position and their sense of self are fused together in a way that makes every money decision emotionally loaded. Quiet wealth builders made a specific, psychological separation somewhere along the way. Their net worth is data. It tells them how their strategy is performing. It doesn't tell them who they are. This separation sounds simple and almost too obvious to matter. But it changes everything. When your identity isn't riding on your financial position, you stop making decisions designed to protect how that position looks to other people. You stop upgrading the car because you got a raise. You stop avoiding your bank account because checking it feels like a verdict on your value as a person. You stop spending to signal status because status stopped being the currency you're optimizing for. The decisions that follow from this separation are radically different from the decisions that follow from the fused identity. And those different decisions, compounded across years, produce dramatically different outcomes. The second framework is what psychologists call delayed gratification, but quiet money. Builders practice a more sophisticated version than the simple willpower story most people tell about it. Popular financial advice frames delayed gratification as discipline, as resisting temptation, as a kind of financial asceticism where you suffer now so you can enjoy later. That framing is both exhausting and psychologically incorrect. Willpower is a depleting resource. Nobody sustains pure discipline for decades. The people who appear to have extraordinary financial discipline almost never describe their experience as resisting temptation. They describe it as simply not wanting the thing most people assume they're resisting. The difference is that quiet wealth builders trained themselves, gradually, through deliberate exposure to better information and better examples, to find the future genuinely more exciting than the present. They don't resist the expensive restaurant because they're disciplined. They genuinely prefer the feeling of watching their investment account grow over the feeling of an impressive dinner out. The preference itself changed, not the willpower applied to an unchanged preference. Staying invisible financially removes that friction entirely. The quiet wealth builder moves through their social world without those dynamics activating. They make financial decisions in the clean absence of social pressure, and they protect their most valuable resource, their attention and decision-making energy, from a category of noise that derails a surprising number of otherwise capable people. Colleagues begin to factor your financial position into their perception of you professionally. None of these dynamics are necessarily malicious. They're human, but they are friction, and they extract a real cost in energy, attention, and occasionally in actual money when the social expectations around visible wealth lead to decisions made for relationship maintenance rather than financial logic. Quiet wealth builders have understood something about human social dynamics that most people learn too late if they learn it at all. Visible wealth attracts a specific set of responses from the people around you. Expectations shift. Relationships change in subtle and not so subtle ways. Family members begin to see you as a resource. Friends begin to measure themselves against you or adjust their behavior in your presence. This is a much more durable foundation for financial behavior, and it's a trainable mental state, not an innate personality trait. The third framework is strategic invisibility around money specifically. Here's the deeper truth that ties all of this together. Wealth building is fundamentally a long game, and long games have a specific psychological requirement that short games don't. The ability to find meaning and satisfaction in invisible progress. Short games give you immediate feedback. You can see the scoreboard. You know where you stand. The rewards are visible and frequent enough to keep motivation alive without requiring much internal work. Long games are different. The compounding of an investment portfolio is invisible on a monthly basis and dramatic on a decade basis. The equity building in a property is imperceptible week to week and transformative over years. The skill development that eventually leads to dramatically higher income produces no visible results for months before it produces remarkable ones. Most people are psychologically equipped for short games. They were trained by school systems with semester grades, by employment with monthly paychecks, by social media with daily feedback loops. The long game, where you do the right things consistently for years and the scoreboard barely moves for a long time, feels unbearable because there's nothing to show anyone, including yourself. Quiet wealth builders solved this problem, not by being more patient in a gritted-teeth, white-knuckled sense, but by building an internal relationship with progress that doesn't require external validation to feel real. They check their accounts and feel satisfaction at numbers that most people would find boring. They experience the absence of financial stress as a form of luxury that no purchase could replicate. They measure their freedom in options, things they could do, places they could go, decisions they could make, rather than in things they own. the internal reward system got recalibrated, and that recalibration made the long game not just tolerable, but genuinely enjoyable. That's the hidden psychology. Not discipline, not sacrifice, a different internal measurement system entirely. 3 things you can start working on immediately. First, practice what researchers call mental time travel, specifically forward. Once a week, spend 5 minutes vividly imagining your financial life. 10 years from now if you continue on your current trajectory. Not vaguely, specifically. What does your account balance look like? What decisions can you make that you currently can't? What stress is absent from your life? The brain responds to vivid future scenarios with something approaching the same. Emotional weight as present experiences, making the future feel real and concrete, is how you train your reward system to find long-game progress, genuinely satisfying rather than theoretically important. Second, deliberately reduce the social performance dimension of your financial life. Stop announcing financial decisions, good or bad, to your social circle. Not permanently and not out of shame, but as an experiment in experiencing money as a private relationship, rather than a social signal. Notice what changes when you remove the audience. Most people find that decisions become cleaner, faster, and more aligned with their actual goals when they stop being filtered through anticipated social responses. Third, find your version of the internal scoreboard. The metric that quiet wealth builders track is rarely their absolute net worth number. It's usually something more personal. Months of freedom purchased, percentage of expenses covered by investment returns, number of things they could walk away from without financial consequence. Find the metric that makes your progress feel real and meaningful to you specifically. Then check it regularly enough to feel the momentum, without becoming obsessed with short-term fluctuations. If this kind of financial psychology resonates with you, the real inner mechanics of how money behavior actually works, subscribe to Real Veil Studios. Every single video goes this deep on the psychology behind wealth. Subscribe and share this with someone who's been building quietly and deserves to know they're doing it right. The person in your life who turned out to have been building something extraordinary in silence. They weren't lucky. They weren't hiding something suspicious. They weren't operating on information you didn't have access to. They just stopped needing the audience. At some point, maybe gradually, maybe through a single clarifying moment, they stopped experiencing money as a performance and started experiencing it as a tool, a private, powerful, endlessly flexible tool for building a life on their own terms. And once that shift happens, everything downstream of it changes. The decisions change, the habits change, the trajectory changes, not because discipline suddenly appeared from nowhere, but because the whole relationship with money reorganized around a different purpose. You don't have to announce a pivot. You don't have to make a dramatic declaration about changing your financial life. You just have to quietly decide that the scoreboard that matters is the one only you can see. Start keeping score differently. The results tend to follow.